Authority.
Minnesota ranks 9th in the nation for the number of cases of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. Part of the reason this issue took so long to come to light, law enforcement isn't tracking these cases across jurisdictional lines. Add generations of mistrust, and Native families say it makes the problem harder to solve. The Native community rallied and marched, demanding justice for the women who've been stolen from their communities. In many instances, they feel authorities have been too slow to act.
There is issues of long-standing issues, historical issues of racial inequality, the biased, being treated differently.
Native activist Renee Ann Goodrich says police officers don't know how to be culturally sensitive at crime scenes, further deepening the divide.
There's a huge gap there, and that is part of the invisibility piece and the lack of support to families that we see and hear every day.
These issues, she says, led to anger and mistrust for many. Sometimes families don't think law enforcement is taking their case seriously. Other times, they don't even report it. A recent study found 153 cases in urban areas nationwide of a woman going missing or being murdered that don't exist in law enforcement records. Fond du Lac Tribal Chairman Kevin Dupuis says when even one woman is taken from the community, it leaves a lasting impact.
When you have an issue in that magnitude or something that happens with a Native woman, it's not just the immediate family that's affected, it's the entire family, and that's your extended family.
20 years ago, the Fond du Lac Band took a step to solve the problem, creating their own police department.
Fact of the matter is that the history between Fond du Lac and law enforcement and our community members really hasn't been that great prior to the police department.
Members say since then, officers who started with Fond du Lac Police have moved on to other local departments, helping build bridges.
Being more active with the community, building that partnership with the community in order to build the trust between law enforcement and the Fond du Lac community.
It's a step forward, but Goodrich says more needs to be done to build confidence and solve cases.
With families, we like to see advocates right at the scene, more of a cultural response for to be culturally sensitive to our different ways of being and how we honor our loved ones.
It's going to take effort from both sides to come together and end this epidemic of violence.
But the reality of it, it just doesn't affect Indigenous people. If you're a human being, it has to affect you one way or another.
Minnesota lawmakers are also working to end this problem. The state set up a task force to come up with ideas to protect women. For an in-depth look at this issue, watch Missing and Murdered, an Invisible Epidemic, coming up right after this newscast starting at 6:30.